All right, we're live. We're back at it again with another Mike's Beer Bar virtual happy hour Q&A. We'll be here for the next 45 minutes or so taking your questions.
You can leave your questions in the comments. We're having some connectivity issues right now. We lost Taylor for a second. She will be back very shortly. But you can leave your questions in the comments, right? Remember, if you leave a question, we'll bring it up. You can address it to Taylor, Alex, or myself. Of course, Taylor on the Penguins, Alex on the Pirates, me on the Steelers and Pitt, and all sorts of things that are going on in sports. And don't forget, we are sponsored by Mike Beer Bar and the North Shore Tavern, right on the North Shore, Pittsburgh, right across the street from PNC Park. If you haven't been there, you're missing out. They have several deals going on right now. You can get three crowlers and then get 3 free on their deal. You can get a half off on mix and match 6-packs. It's an amazing deal. They have amazing beers. They have over 500 different craft beers available. They have over 80 on tap at any time, and they're all locally brewed right here in Pittsburgh. And guys, let me tell you, if you want to know what a crowler looks like, that's how much beer it is. That's 32 ounces. So you can get 6 of these for just the price of 3 by going to Mike's Beer Bar and get your favorite types of beer. They got IPAs. This right here is a Vienna Alter Genius Freudian Slip. It's a 5.8%er. So I'm not going to be getting too drunk on this show today, but we'll see how that goes. But of course, I'm Chris Carter. She's Taylor Haase. He's Alex Stumpf. We're taking all your questions. And hey, shout out to some people, because my man Daniel, Eric says, hey, what's up, Eric? Daniel says, happy to have you lads and lads back. We appreciate you, because Daniel was one of the first person. He's been on Twitter nonstop saying, hey, where my happy hour show go? So we appreciate you, Daniel. But we got a lot of questions, that are going to be lining up, and we got one popping off right here from Dan, my man from San Fran, always coming at me with the 49ers questions. We can pop this beer right quick. There you go. But Dan asks, Carter, who are the top 3 NFL picks, and specifically that team at number 3, the Niners, who will take a quarterback? And there's some debate on who. I think the first pick is undoubtedly Trevor Lawrence. I think the Jets are going to be enamored with Zach Wilson and take him at 2. And if the Niners do anything other than take Justin Fields at 3, they are stupid. I think you put his athleticism on the field with their athletes, they immediately become serious contenders as long as he does fit into an NFL offense. Well, sometimes we see that translate not that well. But those are my top picks. I'm not a Mac Jones guy. I think he's going to fall further down in the draft. If he goes up higher, that's fine. Trey Lance is an interesting guy. He didn't play this last year, but that's my picks. It's going to be Lawrence, Wilson, Fields in that order. Maybe we'll find something else out new here. But I got to say, it's great to see you two faces. It's been a while since we've had to do this happy hour, guys.
Carter, that was a Carey Price level save that you had right there.
We're a well-oiled machine. We got the Carey Price jokes back like we never left.
Having some Wi-Fi issues. I don't know. I guess you can see me now, but
yeah, we can see you, Taylor.
Yeah,
we'll see how this goes for the next 45 minutes. But yeah, good to be back. I think we haven't done this one for 3 weeks now.
3 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, good to be back. I think we're going to be doing these every Friday again.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like we lost Taylor again. This is going to be a theme for a bit, I guess. Wait, Taylor's back now.
I don't. We're just gonna have to power through it. I don't know.
Here's what we'll do. Normally Taylor runs the questions. I'll run the questions today, Taylor. And then when we get hockey, I will bring you in. And if you cut off, we'll just keep it rolling. We'll do our best here. Internet problems happen, everybody. It's just the way of the world.
I don't know what's going on.
We're gonna jump to a hockey question here so we can get Taylor a question. Eric Strative says, any chance that we can stop having these new teams into the NHL take our goalies? Because I see Seattle at least taking one. Taylor, what's your take?
Yeah, I don't know. I just wrote something on.
This is so frustrating.
Carter, I'm just going to put on the record, you're the more knowledgeable hockey person than me.
What can we do? We can do nothing. That's the answer. I'm sorry, Taylor. We lost you for a second there.
It's weird because when it cuts out, like I still see you fine. I see me fine. But all right, yeah, no, real quick. That I guess I wrote something on the other day of who I think they might protect and who they might who Seattle might take. I think the Penguins are going to lose a forward. I think it's going to be either McCann or Aston Reese. I think they end up protecting it's the five forwards are pretty clear. Then after that, it's pretty tricky. I think Tanev and Blueger get protected. I think you can leave Zucker unprotected, and his contract kind of saves him. But then I think Aston Reese, especially with the year he's having, I think he goes, or McCann, either one. But DeSmith is another. The way he's playing, he makes it pretty difficult too. So I guess either DeSmith or one of the forwards, but I still think it's to be one of the forwards.
Very interesting stuff there. We will certainly keep an eye on that. We have a baseball question from Matt Mueller, who's asked you, Alex. It seemed like Pirates Cubs used every available pitchers yesterday, and it was a 4-hour game. Is this going to be the norm this year, Alex?
Maybe not to those extremes. I mean, part of the reason why it was short is because Chad Cole missed a chunk of spring training to be with his wife, whatever they, had their kid. So he had to not only miss that time, but then you have to miss 5 days going through the intake process again. So he basically missed the equivalent of 2 starts worth of spring training reps. So he wasn't fully stretched out. He had the off day. Shelton knew that he could go to the bullpen a little sooner, because of that off day in between. Games are going to get longer. I don't think it's going to be 4 hours, hopefully not 4 hours throughout the entire season, but they have been trending up. It's going to be probably an average over 3 again. Maybe we'll see more relievers because that's kind of one of the things that the Pirates really focused on in 2021 and why they broke camp with 14 pitchers of, hey, we have to take care of pitchers' arms. The only way we know really how to do that the most effectively is to make sure that they don't get overworked. So
Interesting take there, Alex. It's going to be another interesting season with MLB. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions. We've already seen some series had to get postponed because of COVID. So crazy things here. A few friendly comments we're going to put on the screen here. Daniel Matos says he's going to think of a Carey Price question while he drives to work. Thank you, Daniel. And Daniel also jokes around and asks Taylor. He said, "You in Brazil right now?" Because it seems like your internet is. Funny jokes here from Daniel. And then Taylor, of course, your mom, Lynn, she says, glad you're back. We missed you. We missed y'all too. We have a lot of fun doing these. I wanted to fall back a little bit here because we had a Penguins question, and it looks like it is there because it keeps moving around here. Wait, where the heck?
It was like one of the very first ones.
Yeah, there it is. It was actually a Daniel's question. Taylor, can you help people understand the term longer term when it comes to hockey injuries?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of, misconceptions with what, every team is different, but what Sullivan says when he means the different things, like day-to-day doesn't mean only a couple of days. It means they're evaluating him on a day-to-day basis. Week-to-week doesn't mean a couple of weeks. It means like they're evaluating him on a week-to-week basis. When Sullivan's used longer term this season, for the most part, he kind of uses that when I think they don't know. Like when Zucker went down in DC after he said longer term, he was asked, could this potentially be season ending or at least regular season ending? And he said they're keeping it longer term because they just don't know with the nature of the injury how he'd react to it. So, that's what that means. But, I think the biggest, misconception is when he says, day to day, they think only a couple of days. But no, that just means, on a day-to-day basis, they're evaluating him and it can change on a day-to-day basis. Like Tanev was out, 2 weeks? But he was day-to-day all that time. That just means that they're evaluating him every single day. And, his status is changing, that often. Or he could be cleared, any day. But that's what that means. So, I don't think anything is, misleading. They're not being specific. Other teams are specific. The Penguins just aren't specific with their injuries. But I think with the time frames, nothing's misleading.
Very interesting stuff there. Let's scroll down here and keep the ball rolling. Kyle Myers. This is a mix of a Penn State question and a football question. Well, it is a football question. Kyle Myers asks, Chris, why does Micah Parsons have such a large area of draftable positions? I've seen people have him anywhere from 10 to 26 in the first round. I thought he'd never make it past 15 at worst. Now, for those who don't know, Micah Parsons is a stellar, talented inside linebacker. He opted out of this season. He played at Penn State. He ran a sub 4.4 40-yard dash. He's huge. He's fast. He does all the things on the field. But to answer Kyle's question, the reason why he's going all over the places because there are red flags on his character that people are questioning. They don't. There's a lot of people questioning. You know, when he was in high school, he had to transfer because he started a riot. When he was touring colleges, he like tweeted out some news about Urban Meyer that got him in the middle of some attention. While he's been at Penn State, there was a 2018. There was a fight that he started where he, you know, because he got into some shenanigans. There are questionable moments he's had in his young career that people are like, I don't know if I want that around in my locker room. So a lot of the coaches, especially when you talk about him supposed to be going in the top 10, which for a while people were just saying it was a definite. But when he opted out, I think that gave people room to say, you know what? I'm not sure if his play is warranting those kind of questions, especially when you're drafting in the top 10. Most likely you're trying to reestablish a culture in your locker room of a winning culture in your locker room, and having to bring that in, that could be dangerous. So there are plenty of scouts and coaches and GMs who are certainly marking that off for Micah Parsons and saying, hey, I don't know if I'm going to buy into this guy and sell my future on him. So there's that absolutely in the mix there. Thank you for your question, Kyle. We have Paul Ski 5 cents who says there's a Pirates question. How long did the Pirates stay with Polanco as bad as he looked yesterday, Alex?
I actually just wrote a talking point about this. So if you have 2 cents, Paul, jump into the comments there. The way I look at it right now, the Pirates have 4 outfielders on their roster, and Alford and Fowler. Shelton hasn't committed to one of them being the starter, so they're going to stick in that, kind of platoon, split time. Maybe one of them just emerges as a starter, however that dynamic works out. At some point, though, like either the O'Neal Cruz experiment starts to, gain some steam and he goes into the outfield, or Jared Oliver or Travis Swaggerty start playing better in the outfield, or maybe even Fowler and Alfred are both just playing really well. Here's falling here. At some point, there's gonna be another option in the outfield, and unless Polanco's really raking and they're getting ready to just trade him at the deadline, I don't see what the point of giving him everyday at bats is, because I don't see a path for Gregory Polanco being on the 2022 Pirates. It doesn't make sense to pay him $12.5 million for a rebuilding team to do nothing whenever he's not going to be part of that next competitive team. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. He took a couple really bad swings, especially for strike 3 yesterday, and that's something that's going to have to be addressed.
Very interesting stuff there, and yeah, there were a couple of questionable swings. I was checking in and out of the game while I was working. So I mean, Polanco, he's been someone we've always been waiting to see if he can turn up and become this complete player that he has the tools to be, but his consistency has been an issue. I'm going to take on a person who's trying to challenge me here in the comments. Here we have Frank V, who says, Chris, on your Locked On show last night, you said that you pushed for a game-changing running back last year, and I clearly remember you saying that Connor and Snell were the real deal. Why do you switch up and lie? First of all, I've never lied. And Taylor, I got to figure out how to share my screen here because let me see. Share screen. Let me see if I can make this work. Yeah, so you got to click on this. So yeah, so we're gonna your entire screen. Okay, yeah. So I'm gonna share my screen. Share it. Come on, computer.
There we go.
There you go.
All right, so I'm going to click on this, Frank V. And what you're looking at is a tweet where we did our Morning Java episode during the pandemic last year. And my prediction was that the Steelers, with their first pick of the draft, should be to get J.K. Dobbins. So if you want to go look that up, you can by all means do it. But I was championing J.K. Dobbins and getting a top running back in there with their first pick, which was in the 2nd round last year, all the way into it. And I said, hey, when they pick Chase Claypool, I don't challenge them when they get to go get wide receivers, and we see why. But I've always been about getting a running back. I said that there was a chance to be, let me stop the screen share because we have shown my point here. Thank you, Taylor, for fixing the screens there. But to answer your question, Frank, I was about getting J.K. Dobbins all through last season. When it didn't happen, I was like, okay. Now, I said James Conner, he was a manageable running back. I said Benny Snell and him could work as a nice tandem, but I never said that they shouldn't go get a primary game-changing running back last year. So check your facts. Come back to me when you do that. Listen, you come from me, you better have your knowledge up. And if you come like Frankie V, you're going to be going out the door. So that's what happens there. Gary Morgan asks, hi, everyone. I understand that losing all these players to the portal is more than the norm now, but does that environment make coaches less important? Of course, Gary's talking about college right there. I'm going to quickly address that before we move on to we have a few other questions here. But Gary, I think that it's certainly a questionable thing here because coaches are supposed to be able to retain players. But if a player can just say, you know what, I'm out. I don't feel like dealing with this. It does create questions here. So I don't know if it's going to make it tougher. I don't know if it's going to make it tougher for coaches in the long run, because I think great coaches will adapt to it. But I certainly think that it's going to be a challenge that coaches will have to adapt to. And I wonder if it was part of why Roy Williams said, you know what, I'm good. I'm going to I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on from this, and we'll see how that goes. All right, so we are looking through questions here. Greg asks, Alex, has the Pirates' number one pick become clearer, assuming it's between Rocker and Leiter?
I talk to people, and it's still not exactly 50-50, around the industry, and Leiter's definitely the guy who's getting more buzz this year. But that was kind of expected because Rocker, you knew what he was going to be because we saw him for 2 years. Leiter only made a handful of starts before this year, so whenever he's doing this, it's like, wow, oh my goodness. No decision yet. There's still a long time to go. You can't completely rule out that a position player could be in the mix also. They're going to be looking. It still does look like it's going to be one of those two. Right now, though, for the first time, I'm starting to think that it might be a little more Leiter than Rocker, though.
Interesting. That's going to be the debate until the draft happens. I believe this is a hockey question for you, Taylor. This is from Bottle of Blues. I believe this is Ryan Burke. He says, does Berkey actually do anything? I can't tell that he actually does anything. Is it just interviews?
Yeah, so he's asking about Brian Burke, the Penguins president of hockey ops. And so he works in tandem with Hextall. I see Burke at every practice. He was at practice today in Boston. So they're working together on things. And you're asking about like the interviews. When Burke got hired, one of the things he says is like anything he can take off of Hextall's plate to make his job easier. That's one of his goals. And he did specifically mention interviews. So like he said, if, I can take, half of the interviews that year. And so like to leave Hextall free to do his job and make deals, then that would be great. So I think Burke is talking more than Hextall, but I think that was the plan going into this, to not bother Hextall as much. But yeah, no, they work together. And I think I actually see Burke at practice more than I see Hextall, at least the ones I've been to at home. And I mean, on the road right now in Boston, I think Burke is there and Hextall might not be. So yeah, they work together.
Very interesting. It's interesting. Their record's gone up since they've taken over. I saw someone pointed out, and I was like, "Oh, that's kind of funny." Let's go to. I'm gonna try to find a baseball question to work with here. Hockey. I'll do a football question, and then I guess we'll roll back to hockey if I don't see something baseball real quick. Jose Juan Gonzalez asks, "Hi Chris, the Steelers are on the clock in the first round at 24, and you still have running backs ATN, linebacker Collins, and quarterback Lance. Ooh, and center Chris Humphrey on the board. Who would you think would be the right pick?" Oh man, see, I would immediately say ATN. I would take ATN over Humphrey and ATN over Collins. But I would rank it like this: ATN, Collins, Humphrey. But man, if Trey Lance is on the board, that's tough for me to say no, man, because I think he's a franchise quarterback potential. But that's tough. That's tough. I might try to see what I actually do here, Jose, and this might be a cheat to answer your question, Jose. I might trade back with a team that's desperate for a quarterback. With one of those teams in the back end of the draft that says, hey, we need a quarterback now. Like maybe the Saints want to get desperate and someone wants that. And then they'll say, hey, we'll give you our first and our second round pick, or our first and our third round pick. And then they get the quarterback, and then you use those extra picks to get guys. But I don't see if they get Lance this year, that would be a very interesting switch up and flip. I just don't see Lance lasting that long. And of the quarterbacks I would pick, it'd be Trevor Lawrence, he'll be gone. Zach Wilson, he'll be gone. Justin Fields, he'll be gone. And Trey Lance, who I also think will be gone. I would not pick Mac Jones in the first round. That is just my take. But if I had to pick amongst those other three, I'd be going with ATN with his ability to be a playmaker. All right, let's move back here. Eric asks Taylor, is the is the defense the Pens are playing due to the bringing on of Todd Reardon?
I mean, it's hard to say because they do have a couple of new defensemen this year that we haven't seen anyway. But I think you can credit Reardon for just the growth that we've seen from Matheson and Ceci, because they were two guys that came in. Fans maybe weren't happy about. Neither of them started off that well, but then just what they've turned into, they've looked great. I mean, if we talked about it earlier, but like the expansion draft, who they protect, I had CC as like one of the three defensemen I'd protect, with the other two being Letang and Dublin, just because Marino and Pio are exempt, so like they don't have to be protected, like they can't be chosen. And I think if you had I don't think that sounds like crazy, and a lot of people agreed with me on like Twitter and in the comments and all that. If they have to protect someone, CC would be a nice option for the third. And I think if we had said that at the beginning of the year that we'd be talking about protecting CC in the expansion draft, people would have laughed in your face. But I mean, it's definitely a real possibility, and I think a part of that has to be just from working with Todd Reardon all season.
Cool. We will keep it moving here. Bottle of Blues with another question, asking me, is there any word on Carl Joseph with the Steelers, and will they address inside linebacker depth before the draft? No, there's any new updates on Carl Joseph. He was supposed to visit the team sometime this week, with a report of Josina Anderson. We haven't heard if he's visited yet. I think it would be interesting if they could get him for a cheap deal, because he would provide some depth at safety. As far as inside linebacker, there's one name that keeps poking out to me, and it's KJ Wright. He has not signed back with the Seahawks. He's in his early 30s, and he would be a heck of a pair with Devin Bush. I think the Steelers are waiting around to see what bargains that they can get in free agency before they commit to anything major here. We still know they can restructure Stephon Tuitt's deal and free up $4 million. They can restructure, I think, Chris Boswell's deal and get some more money from that. There's more moves they can do to create more money, and they haven't committed to doing so yet. So I do think that there's a chance that they will address inside linebacker depth again, because I know they got Miles Killebrew, but we all know that guy's a background dude who's going to play a lot of special teams. So there is that. Thank you for your question, Bottle O Blues. Let's scroll down here. Kyle, thank you for agreeing with me on KJ Wright. Corey Hecker, I guess this goes to the Mike Matheson point that you were making earlier. Is there any chance Mike Matheson transitions to forward and P.O. Joseph takes his spot?
No, I mean, the competition at forward right now is even tougher than it is a defense with the forwards. They have coming back healthy, and then guys like Goudreau stepping up, who like I can't see. Like Goudreau shouldn't come out of the lineup. The competition at forward is tough. I think, to the other point, to getting P.O. Joseph back, I think that might happen after the trade deadline, because I still think if they move anyone, it's going to be a defenseman, and it's going to be a left-handed defenseman, just because they have so many. And P.O. kind of makes the guys on the left expendable. I still think if they're going to move a player out, it's going to be someone like Pettersson. And in that case, I would open up a spot for P.O. But I mean, no, I mean, Mike Matheson, what he showed last night, like he has played a little bit of forward before, but like that's not going to happen here.
Very interesting. Before we jump to, we're going to get Alex a question. Remember, we are sponsored here by Mike's Beer Bar, where you can get over 500 different craft beers right across the street from PNC Park. It's baseball season, y'all. Get out there, enjoy it. You can also get great food there. The Steak on a Stone, they give you a steak, or you can get scallops, or you can get fish. You can get all sorts of things that'll be put on a. How hot is the stone again? I always forget the degrees. It's extremely high. I forget how high. It's
like it goes. 800. Like it's 800. Something crazy.
It's something insane. But you can like cook the steak right in front of you at North Shore Tavern or Mike's Beers Bar. They're connected right to each other while you're enjoying your amazing craft beers. They have craft cocktails as well. And I'm telling you, the steaks are good, the scallops are good, the food's good, the fries are amazing. They have they have sweet potato fries as well, if you like that. It's a great place to enjoy. And with the weather getting nicer, you can sit outside, enjoy that. And then even if you're not at the game, you can enjoy the sounds of the game right across the street from PNC Park. Remember, at North Shore Tavern and Mike's Beer Bar, where I'm drinking some lovely Vienna beer right here on the show. Okay, so Alex, I wanted to get this question to you. Now, this is sort of playing off the Polanco question earlier. It says, how long does Polanco play in right field and who replaces him? Yesterday was brutal with 8 runners left on and that quote-unquote double.
For like an official prediction, I think O'Neal Cruz replaces Polanco after.
Whoa!
Come like August. I think that's what's going to happen. Polanco's obviously not in the long-term plans with the organization. O'Neal Cruz is going to need time to learn the position. Maybe something happens where like Oliva or Swaggerty or someone else needs to be promoted earlier on in the season, and then they just, they shove. They can't go back down to the minor leagues at that point. But I think that's kind of leaning on that's just a nice way for O'Neal Cruz to get his toes in the water, which needs to happen at this point this year. He needs to get up to the major leagues at some point, get him an everyday type of job. Maybe Polanco sticks on the bench because those two are friends, be a security blanket to get them going.
Cool. It would if O'Neal Cruz made his debut. Well, that'd be very fun to see that. Brian asks is a Pitt question. How long until Pitt moves on from Pat Narduzzi? Who would be your pick to replace him if they move on? It's tough to find to name a replacement. So because I'd have to look around and see who's available, because it's also about who's going to get fired in this next year or so. I think that Pat Narduzzi has about 2 more years left, because this past year of recruiting was spectacular. As far as the names they got, they were ranked in the top 25 as far as this recruiting class. Now, if this doesn't produce anything, if they don't get any guys that keep going to the NFL, that's going to hurt. But we might see, I will at least see 6 Pitt players drafted in this NFL draft. We might see 7 or 8, and that could change. That would also change a lot of things, because what people love to see is that you're pushing out NFL talent. And Narduzzi this year, you can say he did that. If this next year with Kenny Pickett coming back, and I think also Kenny Pickett coming back is a huge statement to say, like, hey, man, there's something that's good here. If this guy's going to pass up on NFL dollars, even if you say, hey, he would have been a 5th-round pick, fine, sure. But that's money that he would have had in his pocket for playing the sport that he's playing for free right now. And he did that to come back to play for Pat Narduzzi. So I give him that credit. And, hey, I was a person when they were on their 4-game losing streak, when players were opting out in the middle of the season. I was right there. Hey, Pitt's in free fall. It's looking bad. So I've given Pat Narduzzi the criticism, but I also give him the credit. He deserves, I'd say, at least 2 more years to see how this current recruiting class goes. If we see progress, that's what they'll be looking at. All right, Taylor. Kyle Mars has a question. Taylor, do you agree that the 4th line center position is Gaudreau's to lose? And if so, do you see Zucker and Rodriguez on the wings if Malkin and Kapanen come back healthy? Does that round out this forward roster?
I think so. Rodriguez on a wing. I don't think Malkin's wing. I think Malkin's wing is still Kapanen and Zucker. But I mean, Rodriguez on a wing, and he's going to be in the lineup. But as far as the center, I think your centers have to be, obviously Crosby, Malkin, and then bottom 6, Gaudreau and Bluger. The order really doesn't matter, because I don't. They both have good wings, and I think they would both be getting kind of equal playing time, the 3rd line and the 4th line, if everyone is healthy, and that is your lineup. But Jankowski, I think he has to be the first guy out of the lineup when a center comes back. I don't see what he brings over Gaudreau. Gaudreau, I know before we were talking about like Jankowski, like, okay, well, he's in because he kills penalties, but I mean, they've been increasing Gaudreau's PK time since he came up. In a couple games, he has killed penalties more. He has had more PK time than Jankowski, so I think maybe that's preparing for him eventually taking that spot over Jankowski. But yeah, I think Jankowski comes out as soon as possible.
Well, yeah, that was another question. It was coming. Kevin Kramer says, "Please tell me Teddy is coming back and Jankowski is a scratch." That's the buzzword nowadays is Jankowski, and he deserves it with the stuff that I've seen. He absolutely deserves with how bad he's playing. Let's get a Pirates question in here for Alex. Will we see Cole Tucker sometime this season? And where does he fit on this team's position-wise? Do you see him at second if Frazier is traded?
Well, I'm expecting Frazier to get traded at the deadline, and Cole Tucker putting him up the middle would be the most logical midseason thing. We'll definitely see Tucker at some point. Someone's either going to get hurt, or the Pirates just need to get an extra bench bat in there, or whatever. Cole Tucker is going to make an appearance in 2021, even if it is just in September. But this is a kind of a big year for him because, 2019 he was rushed to the majors because of necessity. Kind of a mediocre year, but you can't blame him that much. Last year, a lot of hitters struggled. He was learning a new position. You can kind of make an excuse there. But this is a big year, especially considering the other shortstops that this organization has. I mean, they still consider Nick Gonzalez as like a semi-shortstop, even though he's a second baseman. Lover Peguero is who I believe to be the shortstop of the future. Oh, yeah, Kevin Newman just hit 600 in spring training, also in there. O'Neal Cruz is still technically a shortstop also. Ji-Hwan Bae, you saw him in spring training and at the alternate site last year. There are a lot of options. So if Cole Tucker really doesn't prove something this year, I don't know where he fits into this organization going forward.
You leave out that he's dating Vanessa Hudgens.
Taylor, I hear that all the time. I hope Vanessa likes Indianapolis.
Oh, dang, that's a statement. So playing off of something, Lynn makes a great joke here. Jankowski is the new Jack Johnson. I agree because everyone, if there's going to be someone you blame right now, it's going to be Jankowski. Though Jack Johnson's ceiling much higher, of course.
We had people asked us like oh, who's gonna be the new whipping boy heading into the season, and I don't think any of us had Jankowski. I think a lot of people thought it'd be Matheson or CeCe, but they're both playing really well. I think some other people were like, oh, maybe Zach Aston Reese, but look at what he's doing. He just set a new career high in goals last night, and how far are we into this season? Like it's really only Jankowski.
It's really dang. Daniel Matheson says I hated Jack Johnson more, to be honest, ma'am. That's funny. We're going to jump back here. We got a pit question from Eric. He says, is Jeff Capel on the hot seat? I don't think so just yet, Eric, but I think he's on the edge of the hot seat. Like they have the flame, they have the match ready to be lit under his seat to eventually make it hot. Then here's why. Pitt knows that he inherited a crazy situation. If you have to go back like 30 years to find a Pitt coach who came into the program with no NBA players on the roster before, and that's what Kevin Stallings handed him. Kevin Stallings has the second worst all-time winning percentage of any Pitt coach, and that was what was handed to Jeff Capel. He had to rewrite the culture. In doing so, he got a lot of young hotheads who believed in themselves and blew up really quickly because they had no vets on the roster when he took them. And so losing these guys right now, I'm not pinning all the way on him, especially with you're about to hit over 1,200 transfers probably by tomorrow in college basketball, which is a record. We've never seen this. 3 or 4 when the transfer portal started 3 or 4 years ago, it was at like around the 800. So it's just everybody's transferring in college basketball right now. Now I will say this: Capel's time will run out if this current freshman class of Femi Udakale, of Noah Collier, and William Jeffress, if these guys don't turn into stars, at least 2 of them, or at least really good contributors, that will be a problem. But we did see from Rivals, the website that often tracks high school recruits and everything, Pitt is a front runner for Efton Reed, who is a 5-star center. He's ranked as the 3rd best center in high school coming into the college basketball next season, and the 23rd best player overall. If they landed Efton Reed, that might be the biggest get that Pitt has had in a long time, and it would change a lot of things about how we look at Jeff Capel there. So, to answer your question, not just yet, but I do think that will be on the question there. Let's scroll back up here. We have the Gaudreau question. Daniel just wants to say to Alex, it's nothing personal. He says, I don't have any questions because we have very few baseball games on cable in Brazil, and it's nothing personal, but he does appreciate you. We thank you, Daniel, for showing Alex some love.
It's cool, Daniel. Thank you.
Bottle of Blues says, I wish I could drink beer at work like you guys. It's tough sometimes working at DK Pittsburgh Sports. I just don't know what I would do. I have no idea. Like, you guys have no idea how hard it is. Now, you've been answering a lot of 4th line questions, Taylor, but I wanted to do this because we have Italy Pens fans from Pittsburgh Penguins Italia. This is really cool to get. This is what we love from DK Pittsburgh Sports. We get people from all across the globe who talk to us, so we appreciate your fandom of Pittsburgh sports. But Taylor, you gotta answer this question. Could Penguins bottom lines be the surprise of the season? Greetings from Italy. #Let's go Pens.
Yeah, I think especially with the injuries they've had and the guys stepping up. I mean, for a couple games there, they had a lot of guys that started off the year in Wilkes-Barre. I mean, like Zahorna, Goodrow, obviously, Angelo started out down there, and they've all fared well, really, since they came up. It's like they just don't have enough spots for all the guys who can play in that bottom six now. But yeah, Angelo has been a really good surprise too. He's someone that's kind of you see him being more physical with every game, I think. Chipping it offensively more too. He's someone that's also, it would be hard to take him out of the lineup if it comes down to it. But yeah, the bottom six is really not much of a problem at this point.
There you go. Let's see. We'll go to Bottle of Blues, who asks, love or hate the Chiefs' proposal to expand to single digits to other positions. Bottle Blues hates. I like it because what Bottle Blues is pointing out here is there's a proposal on the table for NFL jerseys for skill position players to be able to get single digit numbers like they do in college. Now, in the NFL, if you're a receiver, you're in the teens or you're in the 80s. If you're a safety, you're in anywhere from the 20s to the 40s, and things like that. So, like, there's certain numbers that are held to certain positions. If you opened up single-digit numbers, I think a lot of people would dig that. Like receivers having 1 or safeties having number 7 or, linebackers having number 5. People would love to fight over those because those numbers you get in high school, those are numbers you get in college, and that stuff sticks with you. And then when you go to the pros, you can't get them numbers. There's a lot more pride on the line. I think Ryan Clark was actually tweeting about this earlier today, saying players would go a lot harder and you'd see them kind of like stepping out of their shells a lot more if you gave them that opportunity. Not that would change the game entirely, but I just think it would be cool. I don't see the need to keep numbers in a certain way for the NFL, but I understand if some people don't want to see change right there.
In hockey, I mean, you see kind of like there are no rules, but like there are like goalie numbers, like 35, 31, 20, like those are goalie numbers, just because they might choose from a goalie, but like in the past. But no, hockey has weird rules with numbers too. Not like hockey has unwritten rules with numbers.
Right.
Like what? Like Jesse Puljujarvi in Edmonton, like he was getting flack for wearing 98 because he was too close to Gretzky. Like that's just, he was wearing, I think it's his birth year. But no, I think hockey has a lot of dumb rules. You can't wear like too high numbers, like because that might be flashy. Like the good players can wear high numbers, but like if you're coming into the league and you want to wear like something in like the 80s, like that's yeah, hockey's weird with numbers, so.
That's weird because baseball is the exact opposite, especially in spring training. If you have number 96, it's like, oh man, this guy's not making it. The last uniform that they had.
That's funny. I missed one. This went way back, and I guess I might have passed over it. Paul Ski File. We got to ask our Carey Price questions. What would be the price for the Penguins to trade for the Canadians to a main goalie? I have no idea. What would be the price?
I mean, the Penguins' goaltending is the least of their problems right now, so I don't know. They might have the best, like, 2 goalies that are, like, the best, like, tandem right now, just with the way DeSmith is playing. They don't need a goalie. And if Montreal were to ship out Price anywhere, I don't know what he would bring because he is getting older. But, yeah, it's a fun question, but I think it's one that's tough to answer.
All right. Bottle Blues asked a question on the NFL draft. If Jamin Davis out of Kentucky would they be a reach after their second in the second round after his pro day? No, I actually like Jamin Davis, and actually a preview. Dale Lally and I do a team up mock draft where we flop rounds of we each pick a pick for the Steelers in a simulated mock draft. And Jamin Davis will be one of the picks. So Bottle Blues, check out our Lolly Carter NFL Draft podcast that airs tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. on DK Sports Radio, and you will hear all of the picks that we make for the Steelers in that NFL draft, and Jamin Davis is one of them. So find out where we get him in that one. So that'll be a lot of fun. Moving down here, we got a fun question here. Paulsky 5 cents asks, if you had to invite any person from the teams that you cover to Mike's, who would you invite to have a good time? It could be a player, coach, or front office person. Do you guys have a person in mind that you would do that with?
I mean, immediately Brandon Tanev popped into mind from the Penguins just because of the energy he brings. I don't know if you guys saw the clip. It was like going around from last night's game, just him yelling on the bench.
By the way, great lip reading on your part to piece that out and to basically, because I was like, what is he saying? That's very interesting.
That's not even the first time I've done that with him this season. Like, he's so animated that it makes it easy. Like, before he got hurt, he was like yelling at someone from the bench, and like I typed it out. But yeah, no, I think it'd have to be Tanev just because of his energy and I don't know, seeing the way he is, like because he's like that off the ice. That's just how he is. So I think Tanev would be fun to drink with.
Alex?
Look, the actual answer would be like, yeah, let's liquor Bob Nutting up a little bit. Let's see what happens whenever we loosen up the lips. That type of. But in answer to what I'm sure Paul's heart of the question was, like, I feel like Brault and I, they don't have karaoke at Mike's Beer Bar, but I think if we got drunk enough, we can convince Mike to install something for the night.
Cole Tucker would bring in Vanessa Hudgens, though.
Taylor,
you could do High School Musical duets in karaoke.
I have never watched a High School Musical.
You cover the Pirates. I think you have to.
I know. I'm really slacking on the beat here.
To answer my question, I mean, the obvious answer for the Steelers would be Juju, just for all the drama it would bring, and just everyone would always be talking about him. But if I had to pick a guy that people wouldn't think about right away, I'd love to get a beer with Kevin Dotson, because Kevin Dotson is a dude who's exciting. This man, when he was drafted in the 4th round of the Steelers, he put a poll out on Twitter and he said, "You get to pick my jersey number," and he let one of the jersey numbers be 69, and he was like, "All right, I'm wearing 69," and he lived up to it. He's wearing 69 as a professional lineman in the NFL, and I think he's extremely fun. He grew up a Steelers fan, so I think having a beer with him and having a good time, he would be a fun guy to do. I wonder who he would do in karaoke. I do a mean LL Cool J. Someday maybe we find that out. So that was a great question, Paul. Let's get some more questions before we hit this deadline.
Take
here.
the last one from Kevin.
Kevin. Oh, Kevin says Gino will be out for a while. Feels like season's ending. Crying, but they're winning though, right, Taylor?
Well, just Gino feels like season ending. You got to listen to our podcast and read our stories, because Hextall and Burke both said that they expect him back before the playoffs. He is on a long-term injured reserve, but that does mean that he can come back in the regular season. And both Hextall, he told Dave in just a one-on-one conversation that they're hopeful. They expect Malkin can come back, and then Burke said the same thing in a podcast appearance on our 66 to 87 podcast. So you got to pay attention.
Certainly. Building off of that, Snowman asks, we're gonna rip some off. We're almost done. We're doing a 45-minute show today, not an hour long. So we got like 2 more minutes here. But Snowman asks, will the Penguins make a trade, Taylor?
I see. We talked about earlier adding a bottom 6 center, but like do they really need one at this point? Hextall and Burke have both talked about getting like bigger, more physical guys, but they're also not specifically talking about just this season. They're talking like just maybe longer term. So I think I just don't know what they would add at this point. We talk, if they're going to move someone out for Pettersson, but then I don't know who they'd bring in. Like the last time we did this, I think we talked about, third line centers, and I think I talked about like Clendenning and I can't remember who else. I named a few, but like the way Gaudreau's playing, I don't think they need one.
Very good point here. Kyle Myers says he agrees with you as long as that you're getting Malcolm Bet. If not, then he thinks we have to, but I'm with you. I guess this could be our last question. Paul Ski 5 asks another fun one here. What player's jersey would you get for each of the 3 major Pittsburgh sports teams? Considering we cover all 3 of them, who you got? We'll start with Taylor.
Honestly, I couldn't tell you the last time I bought a jersey of any kind.
It's been years.
Well, yeah, no, but I get what I do now. I get the game worn jerseys of guys in Wheeling. Because I'm like, oh, if they make it, like, and I get this like pretty cheap, that's a good investment. So far, I'm
Mhm.
0 for 3. I did get another one of a prospect. Like, I think all the guys I got before, like, they're retired. No, I do have one, another game warrant of a guy who's still in the organization, so maybe he'll make something I can sell it. But not gonna say who. I don't want to jinx him. But no, I think. But yeah, game worn jerseys and Wheeling would be my answer, regardless of who's on the back, just because they are pretty cheap and they do some crazy ones down in the ECHL. So yeah, no like specific player that I would care to get a jersey for at this point, but just the crazy, like they do like 90s night and like fresh prints, like fun. It's like SpongeBob jersey. So I just get a crazy minor league one.
Alex?
Can I get the red jersey from like the 2008 season? Bring those back? No. But seriously, if you're getting a Pittsburgh Pirates jersey, he wears number 13. The best-selling baseball jersey in all of Nebraska. Get Brian Haase.
That was hilarious when I saw that. It was like Pittsburgh, Brian Haase, or Pennsylvania, Brian Haase, Nebraska. I was like, oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Nebraska knows what's up.
Nebraska knows. That was a great tweet, by the way. It's like Nebraska knows what's up. If I had to pick one jersey right now, if I'm a Steelers fan, like I said, I haven't bought a jersey in at least a decade. It's been a while. But if I had to buy one jersey right now, because I don't like to buy the obvious one, like Ben Roethlisberger, too obvious. TJ Watt would be mine, but he's become too obvious. I think people are hopping on that bandwagon. I think you got a year left before you can hop on the Minkah Fitzpatrick trade. 39. I get a Minkah Fitzpatrick jersey because I think that he is becoming a truly special safety in the NFL who will be revered across the league. So I get a Minkah Fitzpatrick at 39 here.
East High Wildcats, Troy Bolton. That's Zac Efron's character in High School Musical.
Carter, I'm ready for this show to end.
He's got to watch all 3 movies. If you start now, you won't go to bed too late.
Yep, that's absolutely the case. Bottle Blues brings his answer. Minkah, Gensel, and Clemente, but cheating with Clemente. Yes, you are cheating with Clemente. Shame on you, Bottle of Blues. But that's our show. Thanks so much for watching and sticking with us and listening to us. If you're listening to this on podcast form on DK Sports Radio, but thanks so much for listening. We appreciate your questions. Remember, we are doing this again now. It's 5:30 on Fridays. You can check out on the DK Sports Twitter handle, on our Facebook. You can always join in and ask questions. Thanks to everyone who asked questions this week. Remember, this show is sponsored by Mike's Beer Bar and the North Shore Tavern on the North Shore of Pittsburgh, right across the street from PNC Park. Go there and you can try out all sorts of craft beers. They have over 500 options, 80 on tap. So pretty much all of those are local that are on tap. They're from Western Pennsylvania. You can try them out, and they have great deals right now. You can get 3 crowlers, and then if you get 3 crowlers, you can get 3 for free. And when you do that, you get to try 32 ounces. I'm holding one in my hand. I'm putting it on the camera. These things are beautiful. I still got like 30% of this left to go. So I still got ways to go after this show is done. That's how big these are. But you can also do mix and match 6-packs to try all the different beers out. And also, they have amazing food: steak on a stone, scallop on a stone, heat it right in your face, cook it to the temperature, to the rareness that you like. It's amazing. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining the show. We'll be back in your ears next week, hollering at you more with some of y'all questions.
He did.